Welcome back. Today's topic. Today's topic. Who the hell am I? I'm Ted, or as some of my new agents call me, Mr. G. By new agents, I mean the one new agent who's 19 years old, and I'm making him call me Mr. G. And this is Ted, and here you are with the Ted G podcast. Nice and early in the morning. I guess early by the definition of real estate people. It's 10 a.m. We're trying it a little bit earlier today, so it's kind of going to be a lot of fun. And today's topic is, where is everyone moving? Everyone hears about real estate and, interest rates are high, sales are low. Not really. Sales are high, interest rates are high. Pretty much everything is high. I think a lot of the people are high, too. So Bing is on with us.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Bing.
Howdy.
And we did a little research because we like to, let's assume that we always like to be a little prepared. And we did a little research with where are people moving to and maybe from. I don't think we have too much of an influx of families or individuals moving into New York. It seems like New York is on the verge of what people are over dramatizing and over exaggerating as a great exodus. So Bing, you did some research. Where's everyone moving out to?
The Sunshine State. And a lot of people are leaving mostly because of high state taxes, high cost of living. And by state taxes, Florida doesn't have a sale. I don't believe they have an income tax. And I believe the sales tax is incredibly low as opposed to New York sales tax being quite high. And then we have our state taxes as well.
Of course, with the right corporate loopholes, sales tax in New York can be low too.
Oh, yeah, of course. But not everyone's a corporation, unfortunately. I guess that's the way around. We should all just identify as corporations, and then we'll be good. But
I stopped identifying as human a long time ago.
Did you? What do you identify as now?
Identify it. We'll save that for a different topic.
Okay, but there's a lot of reasons people are moving. A lot of people in like the 18 to 29 range are absolutely looking to move out or are moving out. Even from my personal experience when I do talk to people.
Younger people, which is something very different than what I was always accustomed to seeing when I was growing up. It seemed the older the people got, the more likely they were to move out of New York. Even in the beginning days of my real estate career, which was about 20 years ago, that was definitely the consensus that I could tell you. I had a lot of clients move out of New York, out of Long Island, retirement stage, and they would end up in, back then, definitely the Carolinas have always been a pretty big hit, but obviously Florida was the mainstay. Although I did have a handful of clients that came back from Florida as well. So that's interesting too, that older people, they were even older and then they came back. But now I'm noticing, I'm seeing it, younger people. I can tell you a real example. They're literally they're moving right as we speak, and younger people, younger than me slightly, two little children, a third one on the way. They sold their condo up here, and they built a new house in the Hilton Head area, South Carolina. Otherwise, my geography teacher probably doesn't know who the hell I am, so it doesn't matter. So anyway, yeah, so a lot of things, and apparently the Carolinas are like, what would we say? What would we find out? We found that they're like number 3 and 4 in terms of states New Yorkers are moving to.
South Carolina is the 4th, North Carolina is the 3rd up there. Florida is like the 2nd, and I believe New Jersey, from what I saw, is the 1st. And according to our statistics that we did find, 75,000 families moved to Miami.
75,000.
75,000.
Now, that's not people. That's 75,000 families, like a grouping of people. I don't know what their definition of family could be. But it's
congressional seats in New York. We are actually shrinking not only numerically, but congressionally as well. So, the House of Representatives operates off of a population-based system where the amount of representatives your state has is determined by your population. We are shrinking. We lost 1 or 2 representatives.
We all want to be represented. We all want to have a voice. And yet, if we continue this movement out of New York, we're actually going to have less of a voice. So if anyone can really believe it, New York will be a quieter state, politically speaking. So now, what can someone do? Not that we're experts. We're just gonna, we're just voicing facts and maybe some opinions along the way. I also see Tennessee as a big boom as well.
Oh yeah, Nashville is up and coming again.
Yeah, a lot of the infrastructure is just building up, and that, I guess, is the key. A lot of these individuals, families, they're making decisions, and we'll talk about decisions in a little while as well. But they're making their decisions based on exactly what you said. The infrastructure is there, industry is there. The idea of remote working, working remotely is suddenly a real option. Now, here on Long Island, we have wonderful, beautiful places to live. And I don't just mean houses, I just mean environments, I just mean scenery, the scenery, the scenic the appeal of Long Island, and of course New York is beautiful. Why can't we drive more people into New York? Young people, you'd think they would thrive in an area like New York or Long Island.
You know what it is? It's the high rents, and it costs. Not a lot of people are thinking long term for a house, but even the houses are expensive. And fortunately, there are a lot of options to help first time home buyers, but there's not a lot of options for first time renters. And I mean, you go to the city, it's like $4,000 for a little shoebox, and then you got to pay for the metro. It's also unsafe, and then there's also a lot of laws and regulations. And then when you go upstate New York, because I used to live up there for a couple of years, it's very poor. There's not a lot of economic investment. If there is economic investment, it's in state facilities like SUNY, it's in hospitals, it's in public works. It's not in regular retail or commercial businesses. So a lot of those areas there's barely any opportunities. My grandparents live in a small town up there. There's more people in the cemetery than there are living in the town, and there's only 2 restaurants, Yeah.
We don't realize how, not only New York is a large state, but we don't realize as Americans how large a country we have.
Oh, God, yeah.
In comparison to the rest of the world. I mean, obviously there are some countries that compete in size, but just in terms of like square footage and just surface area, I guess people don't realize when I got into real estate, and maybe I think I saw I guess we could call them fabricated homes or trailers or mobile homes that are also for sale, and they're in certain smaller communities here across Long Island. And I saw it for the first time. I grew up here and I hadn't seen it, and then a friend of mine, she said half the country probably lives in mobile homes. And it's a real reality check when we kind of have to say how good we have it.
Oh, especially in Appalachia, man. I mean, there was a Walmart in upstate New York. Parts of it are considered Appalachia, and I was on the border of it, and behind the Walmart there was like 60 mobile homes back there, and they had trouble getting running water and all this stuff.
Wow.
It's a real shock, because there's so much, talk about why aren't young people living here. There's no investment, or when there is investment, it's so much that the speculation necessitates higher rents and costs of living because the land is bigger and it's getting bought out by developers. I mean, you look at all the tri-tech developments popping up around Long Island, they're going for like $3,200 for a 1-bedroom.
Right. I would definitely classify those as luxury apartments, in my opinion. They offer amenities, they offer a lot, and you in exchange you pay for it. So what you're saying is there's not a lot of an affordable rental market.
Right. And it's very difficult to find those, because even the ones that are owned by mom and pops, they're going for maybe $2,500. $2,700. It's still a lot. I mean, that's more than a mortgage in some cases.
Yeah. Well, rents have skyrocketed, and that is true, and that's probably in my business directly related to us. It's probably another driving force of why this market is not slowing down by any means. We are still seeing sales. We are still seeing number of sales. The only thing that's keeping the number of sales lower than maybe what we'd like is probably the lack of inventory, which is surprising since so many families are moving out of New York. You'd think we'd actually be considered abundant inventory, but we're not by any means.
Why is that?
Actually, it's actually a very simple formula. Things are selling faster than they are being proposed to sell.
Oh.
So things are leaving the market faster than things are coming to the market. And obviously it's like anything else, supply and demand. And that is definitely a driving force for why the house prices are, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I am not an economist and I'm not an expert on finance of any sorts or statistical information, but in my opinion, I don't believe house prices are actually destined to drop anytime soon, or significantly for that matter. The interest rates are a little higher than they were maybe a year ago, maybe 6 months ago even, and that's definitely adjusting our market. But with the way that a lot of these properties were bought in the last 4 years with fairly large down payments, more so than we were used to in our marketplace. We were used to typical mortgages were 3.5% down, 5% conventionals, even 10% down. Sometimes you'd see the 20% down payment, so a buyer would actually be able to avoid PMI or mortgage insurance. We saw so much more of 20% down payments, 30% down payments for that matter, and now we're seeing even more cash purchases. So when you have that element in the marketplace, if the market was to adjust a little bit downward, there's still equity in the home, no matter what a family or a homeowner has to do. Sometimes there's job relocation that you have to sell your home. So that obviously most people don't want to keep more than one house, especially in more than one state. And then there's other factors that come into play. Sometimes people divorce, so they maybe the smartest decision is to sell the home. So those are factors that you absolutely are planning on selling your home. Some people retire.
I'm kind of curious, actually. When you speak of cash purchases, and I hear this term a lot.
Oh, I mean American dollars.
Well, no, I understand you don't mean Looney Tunes, but are you talking about hard cash? Like I have $500,000 in hard cash, or is it like a loan?
No, Bing, and so I've been called moody by some of my agents. But no, Bing. When I say cash, I actually mean cash, actual. Okay. So obviously it would be certified funds at a closing table. Most people, or wire transfers. Most people don't, bring a suitcase full of cash. It just takes forever to count it. And you need a money counter to check if there's any counterfeit. I've been there, done that. But yes, no, we mean when someone says I am a cash purchaser, that means they are liquid. They have the funds liquid sitting in the bank, and it's as simple as a wire transfer.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. Because I see a lot of, I get a lot of TikToks because I follow all the business people and all the motivators and all that stuff. And I saw them explaining that, and it didn't seem right when they were saying, oh yeah, when people say they're buying in cash, that really means they just took out a loan or something. I'm like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense, and that's not paying in cash.
They could take out a loan on another property, but the cash would be liquid for the purchase if it's made in cash.
I see.
So if I have a property that has maybe $1 million in equity, what good does it do me on that property? Why not take that asset, drain the equity out of it and use that money and leverage that money to buy more assets. And yes, those purchases would be cash.
I see. Yeah. So when it comes to people, attracting people back to New York, what, as a realtor, what do you think that the market
Isn't Bing really good to bring me back on point? I should bring you on interviews.
Yeah. Hey man, I'll come with you, man. I'll do it.
So that what you're saying? So the driving force. I mean, I think New York is not gone. Is not don't put a fork in it just yet. But why would you put a fork in an apple? But I would say that I'm sure it's cyclical, and I'm sure that there's going to be something that's going to click, or suddenly it's going to be, okay, this is what New York has to offer. And maybe, on some level, maybe it is a lot of these nice luxury apartments here in Patchogue. So I could speak for what I've experienced. In Patchogue, the TriTech project with those luxury, beautiful apartments, really nicely done with all these amenities, including pool on premises, even stores. Technically, you can walk right into Main Street, but also you even there's actual stores and shops and restaurants that are entailed. If we had a huge 6-foot snowstorm blizzard, 6 foot of snow, you actually are self-contained in there. So anyway, that actually drew a lot of people. Maybe they don't have to pay for car insurance. Maybe that close enough to mass transit where they can have their jobs, whether it was in the city or further west. So it drove a lot of people in, and I think it also drove a lot of people in to see a town called Patchogue and a village called Patchogue Village, and all the nice little things, amazing little things and big things that they do. And it made them, you stop by a storefront, you stop because you see something interesting, but when you stop by to see something interesting, you might actually walk in and buy something. So a lot of these people, I've noticed a higher percentage are actually moving, new home buyers are from Patchogue. So when a property closes, the town that the buyer came from also gets put into the public record. So we do some research and we notice that it is a slightly higher percentage now of Patchogue. And the only the only conclusion that I'm drawing, I mean, I can draw a couple, but the main thing would be, wow, those apartments and the more apartments that were rented in Patchogue, people started renting, and then of course, so you get into a different stage of your life and you want to purchase. So suddenly it became very, very advantageous and very smart to make a purchase. And they purchased in the town that they really kind of grew to love. I hope.
Well, I think it does have merit. I do like, when I do complain about the prices, it doesn't mean I don't like the style of apartment. And I think it's cool to build community in that way. And I think those apartments do a good job of it. But it's, if we really want to draw people back to New York, there's got to be a heavy investment in maybe subsidizing landowners so that way you can keep the cost low to rent it. That way more people are inclined to stay. Because a lot of people, like the number one complaint I hear from people my age is it's too expensive. The jobs don't pay enough and what have you. So, and then it's also, the law end of it too, where there's a lot of strict laws. You go down south, you could buy what you could get for $300,000 down south as opposed up here. It's a marketable difference.
Well, I will tell you, I've been watching. I watch television. I hate to admit it. Now I do watch television. So I like everybody else, I'm on Netflix, and I saw this show. It is just hysterical because it has certain actors in it that I grew up with. But I think it's called Sweet Magnolias, and it's total. I don't know what you would call it, but it's a typical sitcom, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, sitcom. So here's a show. It's set in the South, and I can't remember if they've ever actually stated where in the South. They did, but I only watch the show. I don't pay attention, obviously. But it is such a cool, like the way they depict the South and the phrases, well, I don't know how to phrase something, but like bless your heart doesn't really mean bless your heart. Oh, isn't that special? That kind of the terminology. They say it, they do it, they just act differently in the South, and maybe they do. And I am definitely going to be checking out some southern states because I would love if the idea of retirement ever came up, or maybe even relocation. I would definitely think. I always thought maybe California, but now I'm really feeling like that whole southern charm kind of thing looks too appealing. Like the neighborhood, the slower pace, the little mosey on down the street kind of effect. But yeah, that's the South, at least the way it's depicted on television. I'm gonna go check out. In fact, a friend of mine, he actually is. He was actually my original CrossFit coach. And he actually is now moving to the Hilton Head area of South Carolina with his fiance. And I'm actually probably going to visit him. We're going to do an on-location podcast. And, because we already have the topic for that. How, I think, what do we call it? We're calling it CrossFit Changed My Life. But yes, so we're planning on that, which is actually going to be my great excuse to visit the South. I also have a second excuse to visit the South if I wanted to. Coldwell Banker does their annual conference, and it's actually set in Atlanta this year. Atlanta, wow. Georgia, which is also the Center for Disease Control, I believe. So it'd be cool to visit Atlanta, not the Center for Disease Control.
I mean, it could be cool to go to the CDC. You could get malaria for free.
I think I can get malaria for free anywhere.
But that sounds like, hey, listen, man, the South's great. Florida's a great up and coming spot.
Yeah, we're not knocking them. I think it's great. More power to them. They're attracting people. They're attracting New Yorkers. I mean, Miami just just didn't coincide with the idea that cost of living could be less, but I guess certain parts of Miami it could be less. But Miami is a huge hit, right? Miami, I guess it's always been.
Well, I wouldn't even say I think people are moving more to Florida as a whole for cost of living. And again, too, even if you're in Miami, while Miami may be expensive, you don't have a high sales tax, and you don't have a state income tax. So what you'd be making in Miami, you're getting a New York City feel, but you're saving a few $1,000s extra a year. So I think that's why, if you're someone from the 5 boroughs, you're going to move to Miami, especially because Miami's a big party place too. It's great for people, 18 to 29. And then you move to, the outskirts when you're a little older, or if you just don't want to be in that big city environment, and you're really going to save some money. People are also moving for we're not getting political, but they are moving for political reasons as well. A lot of pro-gun people are moving down there, a lot of anti-vaccine people. So those are also some motivations.
Yes, I see that on my social feeds.
Right.
I see people making statements.
Yeah, that's why, some of them are moving for political reasons. A lot of people are moving for financial reasons. I think that, Florida is also upcoming business-wise as well. A lot of corporations are moving to Florida. There's a lot of corporate incentive down there. So the thing is, New York is very, very, from what I've noticed, it's focusing more on, what's the word for it? I don't have a word for it, but they're focusing more on things that are Band-Aid solutions rather than permanent solutions. So opening up rapid land development for luxury apartments, or they're putting investments in affordable housing, but those housing projects aren't even really affordable, and it's going to cause a lot of problems on Long Island sewer-wise,
Yeah. So they're temporarily fixing a problem.
Yeah.
But the long term, the disease is still going.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of... They're overdeveloping Long Island and the city, but they're not putting any effort into upstate New York, and it's not sustainable development. So Long Island, we have a sewer system that is vastly outdated for our growing population. So what happens is all the waste gets leaked into the ocean and into the bays, and that creates high nitrates, which poisons the clams and the oysters and the fish, which is part of our, shtick here on Long Island is fishing. And all our locally sourced stuff is,
Right. Even the shape of Long Island is a fish.
It is, exactly. So, our whole thing is almost impossible at this point, And I feel that, not I feel, but I've just seen a lot of overdevelopment, and you've said it too multiple times, where we're running out of land to build stuff on Long Island. We're definitely out of land in New York City. I don't know how they keep building things, but it's just this. It's a lot of Band-Aid solutions, a lot of overdevelopment, and a lot of speculation instead of looking at what we have and making it so that people stay. We're having a massive brain drain. That's why when I went to college, there was this thing called, I don't think it was TAP. I think it was Excelsior. It was the Excelsior Scholarship. So basically, for the amount of years that you took out this scholarship was the amount, or loan or whatever, was the amount of years you had to stay in New York post-graduation, or you had to pay all of it back. Oh. So it was a grant, but an investment to keep you here for 4 years.
Well, that's a good idea.
It was, but the thing is that a lot of people that do graduate that I've talked to, I don't have a statistic, but this is more from people that I've spoken to.
I should work that program into real estate.
Yeah, how would you do that?
Let's see. How would you do that? You'd have to. Well, first of all, real estate, we're an independent contractor, so that's where there's a little bit of an issue. But obviously, it can be worked up where it depends on how many years you stay with the firm.
Oh, I see. So you only get a certain amount of benefit. I mean, you could do it. That would be a way to do it for sure. But with the state, and it's smart the way the state's doing it. I understand why, but there's not a lot of. Well,
the topic of cost of schooling and education is a whole entire topic.
Oh, it keeps
talk about
raising.
Getting political. So I won't.
Well, yeah, that's a total for a different podcast entirely. But there's the problem is that there's a lot of the cost of living is very high. And I don't even know where I was going. I forgot my entire point, but...
I don't know. We're going to bring it back to... So wait, Stacker Stat. A Stacker Stat says Texas is the number one place people have moved to or are moving to.
Number one place they're moving to. Florida's number 2.
Florida's number 2.
Yes.
Cool. Carolinas, round out the number 3 and 4 spots.
Yep.
Georgia. Oh, interestingly enough, Atlanta. Georgia, number 5, and Tennessee is number 6. And I can tell you, I've had clients move to each of those states in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. It's amazing to see a stat online or Google for that matter, and then to it's different to experience it. So that's why I only speak from experience. So I know what my clients are doing, and what our clients, our office clients. So is there a mass exodus out of New York? Probably not a mass exodus. But people are going to be moving all the time, and I think I have a lot of faith in a lot of different things. Actually, I think I just have faith in everything. So I have faith that just like anything else, everything is a little bit of a cycle. There's a little bit of back and forth, and there's going to be some reasons that people are going to start moving back to New York or moving into New York from other states. Jobs bring people here all the time. Hopefully they continue to do that. Yeah, I love New York. And I love I do love Long Island.
I do too. It's my home. I just, it stinks that the situation is the way it is, but hopefully the pendulum swings back. It's unfortunate that when people say they move to Long Island from another state, the first question they get is why. But
wow.
Yeah,
I never would have thought people asked that.
Yeah, I've seen it before, just like on Facebook and some of the local groups, or like I've been. I'll talk to some people, and then, the question they'll get is like, why are you here? But not because it's not beautiful or because they don't like living here, but it's just the cost. A lot of people are trying to get away. It's like, why are you getting in? So, I mean, they could, the thing is too, though, there's a lot of opportunity because as people are leaving, they know the pendulum is going to swing back. So if you just hold out a little longer, it's like in 2008 when people were buying stocks in 2008. And everyone was like, why are you investing in the market? Well, the market will come back. Oh, what are you talking about? This is almost like the Great Depression. And then the market came back, and the people that invested, they invested wisely. Or it's like the people that invested in Apple before it came back, If you do decide to stay here or move here, the pendulum will swing back. We don't know when, but the pendulum will swing back, and it'll be profitable that you
I believe so.
Here.
And I also believe that statistics are statistics on this grand scale. And just because we could talk about, Google says Texas is the number one place people are moving to, and we know that 75,000 families have moved out of New York in the last year. So that's a big statistic. It's a very general statistic. Each individual market, when it comes to the real estate market, because I do have to always bring it back to real estate. Maybe one time I won't. But, in terms of the real estate market, I think we all have our little own microcosms of market areas, whether it's 7, 8, 12 towns, townships. So again, I don't think we feel the exodus as much. I think we're in terms of our microcosm, our community, I'm noticing that there's a great demand for housing. And I think the high rents are driving that great demand because it does make more sense to buy a house. I don't care if your interest rate is 7%. I don't care if your interest rate is 2%. If it's 2, I'd like to talk to you. But even at 7%, people always say, "Oh, I shouldn't buy a house now." No, if it's time for you to buy a house, when someone says, "When's the best time to buy a house?" If you feel it's time for you to buy a house, you buy a house.
Yeah.
If you're financially capable, if you're ready to take on the responsibility, buy a house. It's an investment. We just talked about it. Investment, we want government to invest in infrastructure and drive people here. Start with us. Invest in yourself. Invest a home. Invest in, so, well, anyway, that's about it. I digress. Can't get too political. We could, but I won't. So wait. I'm Ted G, and this is the Real Ted G podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify,
YouTube.
And YouTube. Okay. Thank you, Bing.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure.
Okay.